welcome. You know, it's weird. It looks like I have smudge on my shirt, but it's the lighting. Gee whiz. Anyways, you guys, welcome to the Melanated Way. As you know, I'm Linda Entry, your host. We have a special guest. And when I say special guest, I mean this lady has really been put through the ringer, in my opinion, a little bit through the fandom, but she is here with us live today to just set the record straight. So I want to welcome Keira Elise, and if you haven't heard that name before, which I just don't believe, she is Usman, aka Sojaboy, aka International Superstars ex girlfriend. Welcome, Kiara. Thank you so much for being here and doing this with us.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. Okay, so Kiara, I wanted to kind of start from the beginning. So first and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself because I think that's the biggest thing that people don't know. I know that you make these beautiful wedding dresses. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a fashion designer. I'm based in New Jersey. I make wedding gowns and accessories. I've been in the industry for the last, I don't even know, 18 years. So in all different capacities, management, buying, all the way down to designing, freelance designing. And then I started my brand right before the pandy. Smart move, but, but
and what's the name of your brand?
It's called the Keira Elise collection.
Okay.
Yep, right after my namesake. So I have one brick and mortar that we opened last November. So that was like our big thing. And then I have retailers throughout the US.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. Now, weddings can be a little like stressful, right? Yeah. Especially when you're making the dress for the bride to be and all the things. Why did you decide weddings? Like, what was special about that for you?
When I was like 8 years old, I lived in New Jersey when I was a kid, and my parents would take us into Manhattan to see shows and stuff. And we were walking past a window, and I saw like all these beautiful gowns, and I was like 8, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And my parents were like, sell wedding dresses, and I was like, no, I want to make them. And ever since I was a kid, like that's what I wanted to do. Like I knew it, and so I went to school for fashion design. I graduated with my degree in it. I was kind of self-taught in the bridal aspect of things because they didn't have a specialty in my college for that. And then I graduated in 2009. So the economy wasn't great, and fashion design was not a sought after degree for most jobs. Yeah. So I went into management and buying, and I did that for a really long time, along with freelance design, and then started a small accessories company, just like stuff that we needed in one of my salons that I managed. And then that kind of took off. I started like showing my pieces at bridal markets and stuff with a few designers that I was freelancing for. And it kind of like took off. And then I ended up quitting my full time, and here we are.
I love it. I love that. I love the fact that you're creatives. I think creatives are just such a special breed. And especially being a female entrepreneur, owning your own business, that whole thing. I'm all about it. So shout out to Kiara for having a business and being an entrepreneur. Let's jump into a little bit of the salacious.
All right.
How did you meet Usman?
Instagram.
Did you slide into his DMs?
I guess so. I like responded to a story that he had posted about like the divorce being final with Lisa, and I don't even know if I was like responding to it or like trying to send it, and I responded to him, and then he responded back to me saying like, why are you asking? Because I said like, oh, back on the market or something like that. And he was like, why are you asking me if I'm back on the market if you're married? Which is like his way of checking to see if you're single.
Because you wouldn't have said I'm married, right?
Like I wasn't married. I assume because people will always be like, oh, like what's going on, because there's so many wedding dresses and wedding related things on my pages that people are like, what is your situation?
Oh, I see. Now, the thing that blew me away that I recently found out is that you and Usman had been together for 3 years on and off. Is that correct?
Yes.
3 years? Yeah, where have you been hiding? Why are we just finding this out?
I'm a very quiet girly. I'm a private girly when it comes to dating life. I mean, we started talking in 2020, and we went back and forth. I ended up ending it a first time because he was just like too pushy in regard to like, wanting things to move like very, very quickly. And the kid conversation was like nonstop. Like, I want like many of them, and quite frankly, I've never really like said like I'm gonna have kids. Like it's not really big like a thing in my world. And so at the time it was just like, it was too much. It was too much too soon. You know, like he was just freshly into signing a contract for another season with somebody. Then he was talking about like maybe he could talk them into having me do it. I was like, no, like no. But we, you know, so we dated online, you know, and talked to each other every day back then. And then eventually I had ended it the first time just because I felt like, you know, the things that he was asking for that he wanted, like I didn't think that I was like prepared to give that at that time.
And what kind of, so the children, what else was that there?
I mean, for me, it was like he gets like very intense when he wants something. You know what I mean? So like even if you're like, okay, like we've already discussed this, like we need to meet up in person, and I want to meet up in person, no cameras, etc. Like I was not comfortable meeting on camera first time. And so like a lot of the conversation would be like, okay, like but like we could, you know, like are you sure? Are you sure? You know, it felt like really like a lot at first. Like it was very like love bombing. Now like looking back on it, very much like, you know, like I love you, and when I wouldn't say it back, he'd be like, what, you don't love me, you know? So it was just like a lot, and I was like, okay, like I get it, like some people have really intense feelings right off the bat. I'm like more reserved because I've been in a lot of bad relationships, so I tend to like withhold. So like it kind of like felt overwhelming for a little bit. So I was like, listen, we need to take a step back. Like I don't think that I can provide for you like what you're looking for in this moment, because like you're looking like the way he was talking was like, I want to meet, get married, have kids, like all within the next few months. You know what I mean? And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, like calm down a little bit.
Like you don't even know if in person will be good, you know?
Right. So one of the other things that is puzzling is the time frame. So we're looking at 2020 to 2023, but in that time frame, yes, we were in the midst of a pandemic, but my understanding is that there were a couple other females that were kind of in between there, right? And so one we know very well because that person was on the show with them. And then another one we know very well because she had made it public that he wanted to film with her. And then she decided that she was not going to do it. And then now we're learning that you are in the midst of this, 3-year time frame. Did you know about the other ladies? Is this time frame accurate? And is it maybe, if I'm thinking about it, is it maybe you broke up during that time frame and then he met someone else, and then they broke up and then he met someone else? Because it's the math is a little,
the math ain't math.
No, it's not.
No. So when he and I started talking, he told me that like things were over with Zara, and that also that Sharp didn't accept Zara as a cast member. Like
didn't accept her?
That's what he told me, was that like he was trying to do it with her and that they said no to her.
Interesting. Why would they say no?
His reasoning was that it wouldn't be fitting with his storyline of like the older women. So he told like that again, like everything that I'm saying right now, like, coming from him. So take it with a grain of salt,
Yeah,
I got you. So he said that like they didn't accept her, and that, therefore like he went on and signed to do with Kimberly. And at that point, like it was like he signed to do that, like I guess like right before he and I like really started talking, and he was like, it's just for business. It's not like she knows this, like, he made it very much like this is like a business situation. So that
you knew about Kimberly then?
Yeah, I did.
And you were okay with them filming together and really?
Yeah, for me, I was like, work is work. I mean, I get it. Like it's business. It's what you do. It's how you make your money. So to me, like it was like acting.
Okay.
And everyone thinks like that's great. I don't know. I'm not like a jealous person. It's just like not how I am. To me, like work is work, business is business. Like I knew about you because I'd seen you on the show. So to me, it just like, it is what it is. And so it really didn't bother me. And like I truly believed that it was all like it was a mutual understanding. Because at the time of that filming, like he was FaceTiming me. I was talking to crew. Like it's not like I was a secret. I was not a secret. And in fact, in 2021, I was getting messages from people who did find out about me. Like, and I don't know how, but I just like never responded to those messages. So
I am rarely shocked, and I do a lot of interviews. I'm okay. So let me ask you this then: why didn't you want to film?
uh honestly, no, in part because I had a business. Another part is I don't really like watching myself, so I probably like won't even watch myself on this interview. I don't like hearing myself. I know it's weird. Um, but I don't know. I just like wasn't sure at the time, like that we first discussed it, like it was way too new, and I was like, am I gonna like put myself in that position? Like, I have really bad anxiety. So I was like, is it gonna be okay for my mental health? Am I gonna be able to handle the hate? Am I gonna be able to handle the comments, and all the stuff that comes along with it? And I don't know if at that time, like I would have been in a good headspace to do that. So I was not comfortable with it. And then like over the years, even after we had broken up, he would message me and be like, hey, like, let's just do it. Like, it can be for business. Like, it'll be great for your business. It'll be great for your business. Even if we just do it, like, as a business and we're not together. Like, so, he eventually, like, broke me down over time. But I, continued to say throughout the relationship, whether it was on or off, that I didn't want to meet on camera the first time. And we tried to meet up 4 times prior to meeting in London. So.
And what happened in those 4 times?
So in 2021, I was having spine surgery, and so we tried to
Spinal surgery?
Yeah, I had my my lower back fused and the spacers put in because I broke my spine a while ago, so I had to like get it repaired.
Oh my God. I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm glad that you're okay.
Yeah, we're much better now. We're made of metal. But so we tried to have him come over for when I was having my surgery in 2021, which was like April. And then he was denied that visa. They said there was not significant enough ties, saying that he would return to his home country was like the response that we got. So he did not come then. We tried to meet in Barbados once I was healed from my surgery. His transit visa was denied. The reasoning was that the financials weren't in order, I guess.
On your end or on his end?
On his end.
Okay.
And then we tried to meet in Egypt, which was earlier this year. I went to Egypt. He was supposed to be meeting me there. I was doing a photo shoot. And his visa didn't come through in time. I think they were having elections in Nigeria at the time, so kind of everything was backed up. But so then he ended up going a few weeks after me. So you'll see like on our pages, it's like I was in Egypt, and then like a few weeks later he was in Egypt. We were meant to meet then. And then when his visa came through for London, we had been like discussing like, screw it, like where are we going to meet that's like easy for him to go to. But then when the London one came through, we were like, okay, cool, let's do that. I booked my flight as soon as he got his visa, and then instantaneously he notified Sharp. So for him to like be going on interviews and saying that like he wasn't going to film with me until he knew if it was real and all of this stuff, like he sent that message right over to them, planning on proposing, doing a music video, wrote her a song, like the whole 9 yards. And that day, like Sharp called me. So for him to be saying all these things, like that was on him.
Wow. Okay, so you guys finally, okay, so there's so much I want to ask. Okay, so let's stick with the London thing. So you guys finally meet up. That's your first time meeting in real life.
Yep.
And how long were you guys in the UK together?
I was there for 9 days.
For 9 days. And there was chemistry. It was great. I mean, we all saw like the reveal. So that was the big reveal, right? So we all saw the big reveal of Usman has a new girlfriend. We thought at the time was new. You guys meet up in London, and then he's talking about how he's going to propose, and you're his future wife, and all the things that you just said. Talk to me a little bit about just all eyes on you, how that felt, your connection, what those 9 days looked like.
So, I mean, meeting in the airport, it honestly felt like we had just seen each other. Like, it didn't, like, feel unnatural or anything. Like, I mean, we've been talking for so long. We FaceTimed all the time. We're always talking. So, it felt, like, very natural, very easy. I don't know. I, like, when I flow with people, I just flow with people. So, we had a good time. Everything was going really well. It was definitely, like, strange because some people would come up to us on the street and then be like, can we take a picture with you? And I was like, oh, I'll take it for you. And they're like, no, be in it. And I'm like, why? Like, for who am I, you know? So, you know, the experience overall, like for the most part, up until the end, like was really good. We were having a good time. Everything was going smoothly until it wasn't.
And so you, from what I remember, is that you celebrated a birthday while you were over there?
Yes, I turned 36.
Be belated. And then you also met up with Tom and Mariah, who are part of the franchise as well.
Yes, they came to my birthday dinner, so they were very lovely.
Yeah, okay. And then you spend 9 days together. And what was the plan after that, right? Because taking it back to the visas, it's sounding to me out of all the years that Usman has been on the show, there's something going on visa-wise where he gets denied all the time. Why is that?
I don't know. We had discussed it before I went over there that we were going to need to hire somebody to kind of look into it to find out what it was.
Mhm.
Since then, I have found out things from other people.
Oh yeah, what are those things?
That he allegedly used somebody's spicy content and was like putting it out to people as like revenge. And they reported him to the embassy, I guess.
Oh, so there's like maybe like a strike against him.
Yeah, and then I think there's one in Canada too, because he tried to have somebody buy him a car or facilitate buying him a car.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and that I know has happened to somebody else in the U.S.
Okay, wait. You're moving really fast, and you're just dropping nugget after nugget. So allegedly, and everyone, this is allegedly. Allegedly, there was another person in Canada, and he was trying to get that person to buy him a car and send it to Nigeria.
Yeah, basically, like he wanted them to like have it shipped there.
Was it with his money or with the other person's money?
I don't know. I don't know the specifics. All I know is that like allegedly she thought they were in a relationship, and then he started like pushing for her to like help him get a car because he needed cars to make him look like a big deal. I've seen some messages. Again, the rabbit hole is deep. I don't know. But I do know that like he asked somebody else to do that. Not me.
Okay. So he was recently on he recently did an interview, and the interviewer called him out as a stereotype, which is, I don't even know. But so the interviewer called him out basically as like a Yahoo boy scammer. What would you respond to that?
I mean, I think that now looking back on a lot of stuff that happened between him and I, looking back at a lot of stuff that he would tell me and everything, I think he is looking out for himself. His career is number one. He has repeatedly told me that. Basically, he would do anything to make that work. So take that as you will.
So let's talk a little bit about his career from your perspective. Does he like? Because he self-refers as an international superstar, and I've always said on my show, I feel like the word international should mean that you are actually international and have traveled internationally to be an international superstar. But I mean, that's semantics. That's what I would think. What is your impression of his career?
He's more well known for 90 Day than he is for his singing career.
And do you think that that's why he is so not insistent, but he continues to want to film with 90 Day?
100%. It's how he gets visibility. It's how he makes money. It's how he gets cameos. That is what is making him the money.
Okay. And why did you guys break up?
After I got back from London, so we had a big argument in London, although it wasn't really an argument on my side. It was a conversation which he did not take well to, and that's the thing, is that like I had not had this version of him in person yet. And so when it happened, it was quite triggering for me as a survivor of narcissistic abuse and domestic violence. So while he was not physical with me, so I will put that out there right now, there was no like physical things happening, but you know, we were sitting trying to make a plan for the day. It was the day before my birthday. And at that point I had been planning everything in London. So like, you know, where we were going to go, what we were going to see that day, you know, I'm booking the Ubers. Quite frankly, I'm paying for the food while we're out. Like all of that stuff is like, I'm paying for. He gave me $300 when I first got there. That's the only money that he ever gave me on that trip. Now, I don't know if you've been to London. It's expensive. Ubers just to get from Wandsworth into the main city are like $40 each way. So like, you know, that money ran out fast. So he, you know, wants to say he was so romantic and he cooked for me. I bought the food at the grocery store. You know what I mean? So it was like, come on. Like,
so did you pay for your birthday party celebration at the restaurant?
Tom and Mariah did, and his friends booked our reservation.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay. Oh my gosh.
So we had gotten into this argument because that morning I was telling him, like, I would, like, can you put your phone down? Because he was always on his phone, like, always checking the messages, always checking the social, like, always, you know. So I was like, can you, like, help me plan for today? And I was super calm about it. And, you know, I was like, can you just look up, like, the times for this? Or, like, the times we do that. We have to get tickets ahead of time, etc. Like, and he just kept going into his phone and going into social media apps instead. So I was like, okay, never mind. Like, I'll look it up. Like, I'll figure it out. So then, like, we're getting ready to leave. And he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, nothing. I'm just, like, a little frustrated that you're not, like, helping me to plan stuff. Like, I've been, you know, getting us to and from everywhere, like, picking everything. Like, I just would have appreciated it if you would have helped me plan something today. And that set him off, that, like, he's like, oh, so you're saying that you pay for me? You're saying that you take care of everything? Like, he, like, went off. Like, this, like, triggered him in some, like, major way. And I was like, that is not what I said. Like, I said I was frustrated. And that's exactly how I said it. I said, I'm frustrated that you're not, like, participating in this. And he will just, like, go from, like, fine to, like, not fine. And then you get the silent treatment, which is, like, a very standard narcissistic trait, is to, like, withhold when you know that somebody's trying to communicate with you and you know that that's what they want. And not to say, like, okay, I need my space, like, give me a couple hours and I'll be okay or whatever. It's like, I'm literally just going to ignore you. We could be in the same room, like, and I'm just, you're not there.
Wow.
And so I left the flat for a little while. I went for a walk. I went and got myself some wine. I was like, this is the day before my birthday. Like, I'm not going to waste this day. And then I came back and I was like, okay, time has passed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not a fight. Nothing happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so at that point, he was still giving me silent treatment, like refusing to speak to me. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I, you know, booked an Uber. I was like, look, I booked an Uber. Like, we can go here. And he's like, I'm not a dog. I'm not just going to come with you when you request it. Like, going off. I was like, are we still doing this? Like, over the fact that I told you I was unhappy about something. Like, this is crazy. It ended up going on, like, all day, all night. He refused to leave the apartment, refused to talk to me. At one point, you know, when he said, like, you know what, I'm going to find somewhere else to stay, I was like, whatever. At this point, like, I've been in this situation with exes before where it just, something small lasts all day long to wear you down, to wear you down, to wear you down. And so he went outside and then needed me to let him back into the flat because it locks on the way out. And as I'm coming down the stairs, I can hear him on speakerphone with a woman who's saying, like, okay, I'll start looking for places around you. And on his way out, he said, like, you know, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna find somewhere else to stay or whatever. So when I hear it, I'm just like, oh, that was fast. When I opened the door, like, I'm like, that was fast. Like, for you to find somewhere else to stay or get somebody to find you somewhere else to stay. Because at this point, like, he doesn't have a credit card. He can't do bookings. He can't do Ubering. Like, I was doing all of that, you know, I have no idea who this person is. And he's like, she's not my girlfriend. She's not my girl. I was like, who said that was your girlfriend? I just said that was fast for you to, like, bounce out of here because we got into, like, one argument, is like what I was saying. He ends up calling the woman, putting her on speakerphone. It's saying, like, say that you're not my girlfriend. Tell her that you're not my girlfriend. Like, trying to make it seem like I was saying that. I was not saying that. I'm like, I don't know who this person is. Like, hang up the phone. At that point, I was alarmed. And so I picked up my phone and started recording. It's something that I, you know, had to do in my past relationships. It's like, you know, when something gets like that out of control and people are, like, trying to claim something against you, you feel like you need somebody on the phone. Like, you know, and so he went on this whole thing about the fact that like I recorded him being, you know, a huge violation and everything. And I do understand from his standpoint as a Black man in a foreign country, like, you know, like what is she, you know, is she going to tell the police I did something? You know, like I can understand that. Like I am sensitive to that, and I apologize for making him feel uncomfortable in that way. It was a natural reaction for me as a trauma survivor at this point. So, you know, he wasn't taking into consideration that like I'm a single female alone with a man in a foreign country. You know what I mean? So there's two sides to it. But so I ended up recording him. That got him to like calm down and hang up the phone. But like, you know, he painted this whole story that like I was like this psychopath who was like trying to get information on him or like have this thing above his head. And really it was just an all day like breakdown of like what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very long fight over nothing. Like I said, like, you know, your reaction is disproportionate to like what happened. And like, I'm confused because this isn't the person that like I'm used to dealing with.
Mm-hmm. And to that, he said what?
You know, he just kept saying like, you know, you said that you were doing everything. You said that, you know, it was all like, it was because I said the things. And I was like, that's not what I said. And like, you know, when I'm with somebody, like, I'm like, listen, I'm sorry if I, you know, said something that triggered you in that way. Like, I'm sorry if you felt uncomfortable that I did that. I can understand your point of view. Like, you know, like, that's not what I said. That's not how I meant it. And if you took, like, I'm open to have a conversation about
Right.
it. But,
communicate.
you know, you have to acknowledge your part in it, too.
Right.
Calling somebody, putting them on the phone, like, you know, you doing this all day long, like, none of that was acknowledged. It was that, like, at that point, once I recorded, it was like, how dare you do that? Now that's the thing that we're going to focus on.
Right.
Eventually, like, we talked it out, everything was okay. And he said, like, you know what, you can tell that I actually care about you because if you were any of my exes, I would block them for a week at a time and make them wait. So basically, again, using isolation and, you know, taking away that communication as like a punishment for bad behavior on his end, or what he thought was bad behavior.
So, and this happened. Okay, so this happened the day before your birthday. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you guys make up. You celebrate your birthday, and then you spend some extra days there. And was it while you were there that you realized that, hey, this is not going to work for me, or was it when you got back?
I actually left the day after my birthday. Okay. Everything was fine with us. We had made up. We had talked about it ad nauseum. I had apologized ad nauseum for making him uncomfortable in the situation with the recording, etc. We were good, as far as I knew. I got back to the U.S. Everything was fine while he was still in London. I mean, he still needed me to do like bookings for like his hotels and stuff because he doesn't have a credit card.
Why doesn't he have a credit card?
I don't know. People keep asking me this. I don't know. I thought all international superstars had credit cards. So, I mean.
Not just that. I mean, the money that he makes from, I mean, even if he doesn't have a credit card, he must have some type of debit card because the money that he makes online goes into an online account. And that online account has to have some type of way to withdraw that money. You know what I mean?
You got me. So while I was back,
so hold on one second, Kiara. So I just want to make sure I'm being clear. So when you're making the bookings on your credit card or debit card or whatever. So you're paying for those things, even though you've already left the trip.
I had his friend I told him that he had to have somebody send me the money. So his friend in the U.S. who lives in Texas now, was from Nigeria, was Zelling me the money. So because I refused to pay for his stays. I was like, that's not happening. I'll pay. He was supposed to pay for my flight and my stay because it was my birthday trip. And then he backed out on that. And I was like, it's fine. I can pay for myself. Like, we'll split everything 50-50. I don't care. Like, I travel a lot. This is not new to me. And I usually go somewhere for my birthday, so it's fine. But when he was having me do the bookings, I was like, you need to have somebody send me the money. Like, I'm not giving you money. Like, this is your tour, your thing. Like, I'm not paying for you. Like, that's not how this works. You know, he didn't pay for it my birthday even. So it's like, come on, like, use your own money. So he had a friend sending me money. I have no idea if he ever paid that friend back. I know nothing about that. All I know is like I was receiving the money in order, and then I said I would do the bookings.
When you like Say it out loud. Does that seem weird to you?
Yeah.
Because that person, like, he's in his late 30s, right?
Mid-30s, yeah.
Mid 30s. Okay, well, mid 30s.
Yeah, definitely weird. I mean,
He's
to me,
still
like,
grown. It's not like he's
yeah.
18, right? So,
The
I mean, I think he's
excuses
close to.
were that, like, the banking doesn't transfer over because it's Nigeria, so like a lot of people won't work with the Nigerian banks because of issues. Like, and I don't know the inner workings of like of that, you know. So
Well, listen, I know that, Nigeria is up there on the banking scams, but so are a lot of African countries. My parents are from Africa, they're Guinean, and there are plenty of ways to send money. I mean, there's tap tap send. Which is literally an African app where you can just send money directly to anywhere internationally. So something is not, for me, something is
okay,
not sitting right, because it seems to me that's very convoluted, that you're in the US, you have to make the bookings on your card, and then someone else in the US has to send you the money. And meanwhile, like, you're grown, not you, but he's grown man traveling in Africa. Like, what would he do if he didn't have you, or he didn't have the other friend in Texas? Then
well,
what?
that's the funny part is when he got back to Nigeria after, you know, he was totally fine with me in London after our fight, when he was in London for our fight, and he was still calling me, acting like everything. When he got back to Nigeria, that's when he started acting a fool, when he didn't need me anymore.
Interesting. And
That's
so
when his behavior switched.
and what switched about it, and is that why you guys broke up?
So he started being disrespectful. He started avoiding my messages. Like, I saw like what was happening. Like, he would be online and then not responding to me as much anymore. And then I was like, what's going on? Like, are you trying to like end this? And he's like, I'm still upset about. Then all of a sudden he was back upset about the fact that I recorded him. And so that whole thing started up all over again, that he like just wasn't getting over like the recording thing. And so at that point, I was like, okay, like your behavior is different, like you're acting different, you're not interacting the same way. Do you want to break up? And the answer was no, according to him. He did not want to break up. Are we frozen?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Sorry, you were frozen on my side.
Okay.
So I was like, you know, like what's going on? Like, I could see that he was going online. He wasn't reading my messages. He wasn't calling me or calling me back. And when he would, it would be like very short conversations, and he'd say, I'll call you back, and then he wouldn't. So I was like, listen, like I'm not new to this game, and I'm also too old to play it. Like, if you're trying to like step away, then step away fully. Like, I'm not interested in you know, the emotional manipulation of this. So I said, you know, do you want to break up? No. I don't want to break up. I just need time. But then it started being like, you know, he'd ask me what was wrong, and I was having like a really bad time mental health wise with my anxiety and everything when I got back and my workload. And so he would ask me what was wrong. I would tell him, I'm a crier. It's who I am. So I would like tell him, and then I would get messages being like, you're just a crybaby. You need to be a grown woman. Like, you know, what you're going through is the same thing that everybody else goes through. You need to get over it. So it became like anything that I would say would then get used against me. So then I was like, what is this? And then he started sending me messages. Like, he wouldn't answer the phone call, but then he'd send me like lists of things that he thought was like wrong with me, like red flags about me, that I have anxiety, that I love my dogs too much, the fact that I recorded him, I don't care about my career, like lists of things that like he was having issues with. And I was like, first of all, I don't care about my career. Like, what are we talking about? Like, that's like the craziest thing. But also, like, you've known me for 3 years. You know, and I love my dogs. You called them your babies. You know, it's just like all of this is coming out of nowhere.
So wait,
then,
so what's the situation with the dogs? I don't understand, because there are a lot of animal lovers, dogs specifically, and so you can't just like throw that out there and be like.
All of a sudden, he had it like he always knew. Like, I've had these dogs longer than I've known him. You know, and you know, they're like my little children. I know people get mad about that, but they are my kids. Like, it is what it is. And he would always call them like his babies. He's like, how are you doing? Where are my kids at? Like, you know, always like joking around. He knew how important they were to me. But now all of a sudden it became like I loved the dogs too much, because I would like kiss them on the nose or the head or like have them around me all the time. So he was like, you can't do that. And I'm like, what?
Wait a minute. Wait,
Yeah.
are you telling me that he was jealous of your dogs? The attention you were giving your dogs?
Yeah, he said, I'm not going to compete with dogs. And he asked me if I would get rid of them.
No, he didn't.
And that was the final straw. That's when I broke up with him. He said, I'm not going to compete with dogs. So when I come there, will you get rid of them? Or do you love them more than me?
I just have no words to that. I have no words to that. I don't know anyone who would actually say that.
I mean, he even like full on admitted it. And Tasha K like thought it was like a perfectly normal request. She was like, so you're asking her to get rid of the dogs for you? And he's like, well, I mean, like, I'm just not going to compete with dogs. And she was like, it's two different things.
It's absolutely two different things. And irresponsible for someone to think that, first of all, I'm just going to say this, guys, there are so many sheltered animals that need homes. And especially after going through the pandemic where people abandoned those animals and they've been in shelters for a very long time. So I cannot imagine someone saying, hey, these two dogs have been my dogs since day one. They have a stable home, loving, owner. And if I come here, then you just have to get rid of those dogs because I'm not going to compete with dogs. So it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. And anyone that would ask you to do that is mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing to me.
That's what I told him. I said, anybody who loves me would never ask me to do that. Number one, like, they are rescues. They are, they have medical and health problems that are very expensive. They're not somebody you could just like pawn off to someone that would take them, and nor would I ever even consider it. But
and why would you? Exactly.
If you loved me, you would never ask me to do that.
And if you love animals, you just would never do that. You just never abandon your animals just because someone said, hey, I don't like your dogs, or I don't want to compete with your dogs. That's outrageous. Like, so that was the straw that broke you up.
Yeah, honestly, that was when I realized that that was when the flags officially turned red, I guess you would say. Like, that's when I was like, a narcissist will always try to isolate you from the things you love, the people you love, and take away the things that like bring you joy, so that you're their only priority kind of situation, where like you're clinging to them because that's all you got left. And at that point, like, I work with a spiritual healer. I work with somebody doing inner child work, and obviously I've had a lot of issues in the past in my relationships, and when that happened, it just like it set all the alarm bells off. My anxiety went through the roof, and I was just like, this is too familiar. All of this is too familiar. The way this is going down is not the way that I'm going to go down again. It took me way too long to rebuild from my previous relationship, which had been 6 years of it, of both physical and mental. So at that point, I said, like, I'm like physically ill trying to deal with this every day. And that's when he said that, I was like, you know what, I can't do this. We had gotten off because I like made him call me when he was like sending me the list of things that were wrong with me. But I was at work and I had my intern there, and I was like, we need to this needs to be a conversation on the phone. Stop texting me things that are wrong with me. Like, we need to be having a conversation. We can talk when I get home from work tonight. You need to answer the phone, because at this point it was when he was giving me the cold shoulder. I called him when I got home. He did not answer me. And so I just sent him a message that said, like, look, I'm done. This is not working for me. Like, I will not be treated this way. I won't have somebody act this way towards me, that doesn't value me, etc. And so he responded, like, is that your decision? I said, that's my decision. And he said, maybe you just need a couple of days. Maybe you just need a couple of days. So for him to keep saying this narrative that like he was distancing himself, I was like, I don't need a couple of days. This is what I've decided. 2 days later, I called him and said, how do you want to handle this? Like, how do we tell people that we're not together anymore, since it just came out that we're together? I'm new to it. It's very public. What do I say? And he was like, what do you mean we're not together? Like, it never happened. Even though he was responding to the messages being like, you ended it here, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, I was like, yes, we broke up 2 days ago. How do you want to handle it? And at that point, he was like, you know what? I don't care. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm going to lunch.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
and
okay.
you did make a public statement, right? Because I think I saw it on In Touch Weekly.
Yeah, I reached out to In Touch because I'm a naive fool and thought, like, okay, if I tell them, they'll put it out there, everyone will know we're not together, and people will stop asking.
But what did that end up looking like for you? Because...
Pardon?
What did that end up looking like for you? Because that did go out,
Yes.
but people didn't know who you were. So I think it was received like you were trying to clout chase off of Usman's 90-day fame. Is that the feedback that you got?
I mean, on my end, I mean, everyone thought that from the beginning, I guess. Like the minute I was introduced, people were thinking that. And to me, like, it doesn't really matter what the view of these people are. Like, it's my life that I'm living. And like, I was like, how do I get this out there in one foul swoop where like I'm saying enough to say, like, I'm standing up for myself. This is not okay. I'm done with it. Where I'm not like saying everything. You know, I did it as like, as tastefully as I could. But also, I thought that like, okay, if it gets out there, then it's out there. Everybody knows, and I won't have to keep answering this question on my live. Now,
Right.
like 3 months later, every time I'm on live, they're like, "Are you still?" I'm like, "No." God, read the news, scroll up a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, so at that point, you know, In Touch had reached out to me multiple times about our relationship, and I, you know, had said no a million times before that. So like that's the only reason that I even had, you know, a direct line to them. And I said, look, like this is what's happened. You know, and they asked me to elaborate and to tell them like what had happened, and I said no. Like at the time, I was very like tight-lipped about it. I was still trying to like protect his image. I was still like in that headspace of like, you know, like am I making the right decision? Like, you know, it was still like very fresh after it happened, but I was also feeling like so physically drained and ill from like all of the chaos that I was like, I just need to put this out there so that for myself, like I'm done and like people know it's done. So whether people took that one way or the other, like ultimately, you know, I know why I did it, and they can accept it, not accept it. It's fine with me.
I think the
Until
biggest
you're,
thing I think
sorry.
the biggest thing too, and sorry to cut you off there, is that what most people don't know, and we're just finding out too, is that you guys had this on again, off again relationship for 3 years. So it wasn't like you just popped in, 6 months ago. You guys have an extended history on and off. And I think that that's the part that was the base that no one knew about. And even in the breakup statement, they didn't really mention that either. Is that because
No.
you kept that tight lipped as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wanted me to keep it tight-lipped because obviously it messes with the timeline is not good.
Listen, the math is crazy. I mean, I'm going to actually sit down and take a look at it because I'm just curious like that. But um, what changed your mind? What changed that you were like, no, I'm just going to tell my story?
When I put out the statement to In Touch, now I had given him the opportunity to like tell me like how we should handle this, what we should do. The way that he responded to me with being like, I don't give a shit what you do, like, good luck. I was like, okay. So now I'm just like left here to fend for myself with all of these people coming after me because like the reception of me was not great. Obviously, I was getting more hate online than I was loved. He was getting more love because people were like, oh, a young girl, you know, like, so he was like on this high and I was on like the getting beat up in the comments, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
at that point I was like, well, you just like left me stranded here, like to fend for myself and figure out what I'm supposed to do next.
And do you think that because it sounds like a little bit of animosity, uh, was that because you guys broke up and he was upset about that? Like, what would your first instinct be? That okay?
Yeah, I think it was just because like he wasn't in control of the situation and like he couldn't get it back to use it for whatever he wanted to, and I think he was just like at that point he was pissed, and so he was like, fine, screw it, like you do what you want to do. And then I made the statement as, like I said, I worded it as carefully as I could, where I was saying like, you know, it just didn't work. I ended things, etc. Let it go. And then he posted on his stories, and I think he tagged you and a couple other bloggers when the In Touch article came out, saying like, do you want to hear my side of the story?
I remember that. I do remember that.
And at that point, I was like, I was trying to be so respectful. I asked you how you want to handle it, if we should say something together. Like I was giving him like all of those opportunities, and he was just, you know, being Usman. Like if it's not his way, it's the highway. So I was like, okay. So to that, you know, at that point, I had him blocked, and people were sending it to me, and I, you know, so I posted on my stories and said, look, guys, thank you for sending it to me. I see it. If he wants to elaborate, like I'm prepared to elaborate as well. Like I'm trying to keep it you know,
Mm-hmm.
because at that point he had people coming for me saying they were going to out things about me. They were going to talk about me. They were going to, you know, all of this crazy stuff. So I was like, okay, you know, do what you got to do. But like, I was trying to keep it amicable at that point. But once I started getting like, you know, the messages, it's like the threats in the comments, like he sends people to do his dirty work. He's not going to do it because he wants to look like this like God-fearing man, but he sends people to speak for him on his behalf.
Really?
Yes.
Because you know the fandom can do their own thing sometimes. Like they can take something and run with it.
No. These are people that I knew through.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's unfortunate. Okay, so I also do want to talk about what I like to call the ex-Usman club that you are now part of. Um, so I was on one of your lives recently, and you and Lisa were on it, and someone else was on it as well. But the note that I took is that she said there are 8 in the same 2020 to 2023 time frame.
That's what I've been told.
Oh, so you can't confirm that either.
I, in 2021, got a message from the woman in Canada who I told you was asked to buy a car.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very aggressive message at that time. Like, again, nobody knew. So I didn't know like how she even knew about me. And I just left that in the filtered messages and just like never touched it.
Mm-hmm.
But that person was claiming to have been with him and just broken up with him a couple of weeks earlier, and that he tried to like scam her for a car, and that he was AWOL from the military, and like, you know, all of this stuff. So I do know that person exists because they came to me. Obviously I know that Kimberly exists, but at that time period, the capacity of their relationship is still questionable to me. I've not been able to speak to her. She's under contract. She doesn't want anything to do with me. That's fine. But as far as
Did you say she doesn't want anything to do with you? Because she's been quite lovely to like the fandom. So why would she not want anything to do with you? Especially if you guys have similar, like you guys have the same person in common.
From Usman's side, it's because she was jealous of me or whatever. And from her side, you know, like she's under contract and doesn't want to be involved in the mess because she's under contract. But as far as I know, like, and I've seen, because he would send me messages that like she was sending him and stuff about me, and that she was just like never a fan of me because she has known about me for a long time.
Sounds messy. Yeah. Sounds messy and complicated. And all over and because of this one individual. Now, this interview he did. So, do you know how he ended up going on the Tasha K show? Because that interview was wild.
I did not even know about it until like somebody tagged me in one of the clips that was on TikTok, and was like he's talking about his exes, and the clip wasn't about me. And at that point, I was like, where the hell do I even watch this? Like, I don't even know. So then I reached out to Tasha K and said, like, where can I watch the full thing? Because I wanted to see if he did talk about me. Because I was like, listen, other people were on the show. Like, he, you know, publicly, you know, signed a contract and put that out there with them. I was never on the show. I was not a cast member. So, like, I was hoping, at that point, I had, like, told him, like, if you're going to talk about me, make sure that it's true. Because if you come out with lies, like, I will come out with the truth. Like, either keep it quiet about me and just leave me alone, or I will tell the truth, you know? So I wanted to see if he spoke about me. And when I had reached out and asked where I could see it, she sent me the link to see it and then asked if she could interview me. And I said, let me watch it. I need to see what's going on. And then I watched it, and it was just all a bunch of bullshit. Like, what we about everything.
So, like, what? Give me an example, because I've only seen the clips, the same type of clips that you saw, so I didn't actually see the full interview. What type of things would you say that were not true that were said on that show?
That he made more money on his tour in London than he did through 90 Day Fiance.
The tour that you guys went on, that was a tour? Because let me tell you from my perspective what I saw, and I've said this, so I will, and I always back up what I said, but I have friends and I have a lot of followers that are in the UK. And my understanding is a tour would be like you're touring, even if you're touring nightclubs, you're touring and performing. And from the feedback that I got, it was more like, and it sounds terrible that I say it like this, but it was more like a pizza party. Like you go, you pay X amount of dollars, and it was like a meet and greet versus like a tour and I'm performing. Is that correct or incorrect, or accurate or not accurate? Because you were there.
You are accurate.
Yeah, I knew I was.
It was the thing is, like, he was pushing, like, the way to push it, or that he was trying to push, was using 90 Day Fiance. You can meet Usman from 90 Day Fiance, not Usman's performing his music. In fact, while we were there, Sharp reached out to him and said, stop using 90 Day Fiance while you're promoting your thing. They're not supposed to do that under contract. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, and then he does it anyways. But that was, like, the push. I only went to one event, which was like a festival, like a Nigerian festival in the park, where he did one song. But any of the other events that we went to, there was no performance.
Yeah, which is what I knew. So, okay, so you were going back to the things that you were saying were inaccurate, in your opinion, from the previous interview.
That he, loved Kimberly, and that the only reason that it didn't work was because she couldn't have kids. Very contradictory to the stuff that he was telling me.
So could it be that that's true and then he was just lying to you?
I mean, I guess it could be, but given all of the stuff that was said, like, I mean, I would find it hard to say that kind of stuff about somebody that I loved. So,
okay.
To me, that was because ultimately, like, if he wanted kids and a family, like, he would have that by now. And so I don't think, like, it's when he started talking to me, he knew I didn't want kids initially. So I don't think it's like the main issue. He said that he broke up with me. So then, because I loved my dogs too much, he, like, that was like his thing. That was a lie. He said that I was upset with him for reaching out. My father was in the hospital. And he was watching all my stories, commenting on my stuff still, like, and then not saying anything about my father being in the hospital. And I was, like, posting me and my dad in the hospital, because we were there for a week. And he, like, didn't say anything. He ended up responding to, like, a photo that I posted of me in, like, one of my wedding dresses, like, messing around in my store, and, like, asked me how my dad was, like, after my father had gotten out of the hospital. And I thought that was really messed up, because he had known my dad. My dad and him have talked on FaceTime a bunch of times. Like, they talked when we were in London. I was like, the fact that you would see that I'm in the hospital with my father, even if we're broken up, like, and you wouldn't be like, is everything okay? Like, to me, that's pretty low. When he did reach out to me, I was getting to one of my friends' houses for dinner, and I saw the message, and I was just like, oh, now you're going to reach out, So I put my phone down, went into my friend's house, and because I didn't respond immediately to him, it was like, oh, you can't even respond to my kind message. Like, I'm trying to be nice. Like, again, making me the villain for not responding fast enough. And I said, well, I mean, honestly, it took you long enough. Whatever. Then he went on Tasha K and said, like, I was upset with him. He even reached out, because he's such a good guy. He even reached out about my father, and I took it badly, because, like, I still wanted to be with him.
Oh, wow.
Because he's such a great romantic guy. He even cooked me dinner. Again, the food that I purchased, like, and, like, tried to make it seem as if, like, I was, like, this woman pining after him still, and I was, like, heartbroken because I wanted to be with him, and he left me. And I was just like, why would you say that? Like, there's so much proof against it. It doesn't even make sense. And then he told her, like, you know what? You can ask any of my exes. Go interview any of my exes, and they'll tell you how great it is to be with me.
Wait, those were the words? My exes will say how great it is.
He said, like, like, it's great to be with Usman. It's great to be with me. I'm romantic. I'll take care of you. Oh, yeah, going on and on about how great it is to be with him. And that's why I was upset that he reached out about my dad, because, like, I was upset that we weren't together anymore. Wow. I was upset that his reaction to me was, like, that I wasn't answering him fast enough for his liking. And that's when I was like, fuck, like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm doing something, and it took you over, like, a week and a half to even ask me how he was doing. So, like, and now you're demanding me to answer you faster? Like, get out of here. That's what I was mad about. And then he, of course, went on to spin it that, like, it was because I was so upset about not being with him.
So, in hindsight, Kiara, what would you do the same, and what would you do differently?
I mean, it's my nature to like want to see the best in people. I'm like an empath by all accounts. So like I always see like the best in people. I always feel like, you know, their future is bright, like they're, you know, they work hard. Like there's reasons that like I got into the relationship in the first place that I found endearing. And so, you know, I wouldn't change that about myself because the other outlook is bleak, right?
Right.
Life is hard enough.
Yeah.
But I think in hindsight, like maybe I wouldn't have wanted him to put it out there when we were in London. Maybe the first meeting should have been entirely private. I don't know how we would have done that. Maybe, you know, I don't know how we would have done that with like me having going to his events and stuff. So I mean, I don't really know, aside from like obviously hindsight's 2020. So like now when I go back and read those messages, now when I go back and see stuff, I'm like, the math isn't mathing. So, you know, I'm working on it. I'm working on like rose-colored glasses being removed and, you know, getting better vision and clarity and like trusting my gut more when it comes to like, because I would question him when things were off. He would have conversations with me and I'd be like, we already talked about this, or we never talked about this. Why are you talking to me about it? Like, we know you must have been talking to your other girlfriend. I would make jokes like this all the time because like he couldn't keep up with stuff or like who he told what to. And the whole time I'm like making jokes about it. And in reality, like I should have been trusting my gut that like there's a reason why he's not able to remember that you had this or didn't have this conversation. You know? So, you know, it's all a learning experience.
Yeah, I always say to everyone, you know, your gut is your goddess speaking to you. You have to pay attention to it because it will really save you in a lot of situations and make you aware in other situations. I just really appreciate you coming and telling your truth. I think that one of the things that was important to me as a journalist is just hearing the other side because we've only heard bits and pieces about you, and you know the fandom is deep, like it's deep and it's intense, and when they come for you, they come for you, so it's a whole thing. But I did want to ask you before we wrap, how was it for you to be kind of almost thrown into all of this attention?
Ultimately I learned that I'm a lot stronger than I thought. People's opinion of me who don't know me, it turns out I can't handle it. I don't care. Like, you don't know me, and if you're not willing to give me the time of day to explain myself or to talk to you, then it's fine. You can have that opinion of me. It doesn't change my life in any way, shape, or form. I wish you well. I honestly think that, like, for people to have that kind of intense feeling about somebody that they don't know, that's much more deep-seated in something that's going on with them. I'm obviously triggering something in them, and that's for them, and that's not for me. So it's definitely brought a lot to light for myself, and I feel like I've grown a lot from it. So, you know, it wasn't as rough as I thought. And people have said some really crazy, really mean things, to which at this point, like I can just laugh about it because I'm like, you don't know me. And I've had people, even as of last night, I do a live every night on TikTok. We call it trauma bonding. We kind of support each other. It's mostly women, but we all just kind of chat about our relationships, things that have happened to us, our days, how things going, highs, lows, just like a safe space to like chat in. And last night somebody came in hot and heavy, you know, like coming after me. And I was like, don't block, because I have moderators in there. I said, don't block. Let me talk to this person. I ended up talking to the person. We went through the chat. She ended up following me. She ended up sending me a message, apologizing, saying, like, I'm sorry that I came in like that. I had the wrong opinion of you. And, you know, we ended up having a really, really great conversation. So hopefully more people will give me that opportunity. If not, it is what it is.
I mean, I think I love that, and I think we should end there. So you guys, you're hearing Kiara, you're hearing from her own words, her own mouth, her own firsthand experience. And whatever you think, however you feel, we all have feelings about, you know, 90 Day Fiance, and they can come in hard because we're invested in the show and we're invested in the characters on the show. But I do think it's important to give everyone an opportunity to speak their truth, and to not jump to conclusions for stuff that we don't really know. So, Kiara, thank you so very much for coming on here and just being honest and telling your story. I really do appreciate it. And I think that a lot of other people are going to appreciate it as well. Where, because you can see that I post mine. So where can they find you on social media if they want to find you?
I am at Keira Elise on Instagram. My business Instagram is at the Keira Elise Collection, or just Keira Elise Collection, sorry. And then on TikTok, my now backup account, because my other one got a banana.
What's a banana? Oh, it did?
Yeah, somebody had some people mass report me during a live. So now we are rebuilding my backup account. So it's just at the Keira Elise on TikTok.
You got banned on TikTok?
I got banned from going live. Yeah, he had some.
It's wild.
There. Yeah.
You're building anew, though. You're
exactly.
building anew.
Starting
right?
fresh.
Starting fresh. That's
no
it.
problem.
It's a new season. We're coming into fall, autumn, all the things.
Exactly.
It's a new season. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. If you're watching the replay and you have questions, go ahead and pop them in the comments. And go ahead and follow Kiara and see just a little bit about her lifestyle. And then, if you're getting married, go ahead and take a look at her collection. I hear it's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.